Can we get a drum roll, please, as we have FCS football back? And it only took a couple weeks, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Look at that drum roll from B. Russ. It only took us, less than 3 weeks to get football back from the Super Bowl. Here we thought the spring was going to be a little dry, but now we have FCS football back. And if you're joining us for the first time, which obviously you are, since this is our first episode here on the Kota FCS Pick'em Show. My name is Pace from the Kota Sports Gambling Network. Alongside me, B. Russ 35 on Twitter. Brandon, excited to have you on this journey. I know you're a big West Virginia guy, and I know we can get into that later, but you are taking some time to join us for the FCS Pick'em Show. It should be fun this spring.
Listen, I'm all about learning new things, and the FCS is about as new to me as it gets. Like I've said before on the podcast, I'm a big time big boy football guy. Big 12 football, West Virginia alum. I grew up around Ohio State, so I'm used to the big boys of college football. But I'm willing to take a step down and come play at the smaller playground here for the spring. I'm excited.
Well, we'll have you, Brandon. We will accept you with arms wide open, as they say on the playground. So, for many of you that probably don't know, we're from the Kota Sports Gambling Network. We're a gambling company based out of the Dakotas, and we have a couple podcasts on our network right now. Brandon and I do the Mount Lockmore podcast that comes out twice a week, and there's also a Gambling Feud podcast between two cousins that come out once a week. So you can find us on all social media. You can, like I said, you can find Brandon at BRuss35 on Twitter, myself, Kota Capper Pace on Twitter, and then you can follow the network, man. You can at Kota Cappers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we also have a website, KotaSportsCappers.com, where we give out free picks, and so it's super fun. We're super excited for this. I'm an NDSU guy. As you see, I wore my plain white sweatshirt. The canvas is clean, Brandon. The canvas is clean. I'm not.
He's already waving. He's already waving the white flag. He's already waving the white flag. No Trey Lance. No Trey Lance. He's ready to move on to next year.
Hey, no Trey Lance. We might be a little younger this year, but it should be a fun season as well. So, Brandon, before we kind of get into it, just explain to the people who are you a fan of this year? Who are you rolling with?
I've spent many long nights thinking about this, but as a resident of the great state of South Dakota, I have to roll with the Jackrabbits, baby. Let's go. This is our year. Year.
He's calling it off the bat, not even 10 minutes in. Our year. All right.
Let's go. Ears up, baby. I have been accepted as an honorary Jackrabbit, so I'm going to be following along closely, and the year I jump on is the year that we're heading to Frisco. So let's go.
Hey, you're the good luck charm, maybe. You're the good luck rabbit this spring season. So yeah, it should be fun. Me being an NDSU alum, now Brandon is an SDSU guy. We'll have a nice little show rivalry there, and it should be an exciting.
That's right.
Time. So Brandon,
yep.
We have a lot of stuff to roll through on the show here in the first episode of the Kota FCS Pick'em Show, but you had some questions that you kind of wanted to get out into the air, get some answers off the bat. So what are some of those questions that you have going into this? Because this is obviously different. It's a spring FCS spring season, right? So everybody that follows football, FCS is in the fall. Obviously, COVID, pandemic, everything like that. It's spring, baby. It's spring, so it's going to be fun. And a lot of eyes are going to be on the FCS this spring, Brandon. So it should be fun. But you had some questions, so let's hit them hard here.
So, obviously me being new to FCS football, I know nothing about FCS football. So first question I had, is there like a Heisman trophy? Is there a trophy that they give out to the best player at the end of the year? And what is that called? And why is Pierre Strong Jr. going to win it this year?
Oh, look at that. You don't know nothing. Come on, give yourself some more credit than that. So there is, yes and no. It's obviously the Heisman, right? Anybody can win, right? When you look at the FBS level, we've seen a few defensive players win it. Obviously, it's heavy offensively, the players that have won. But in the FCS, Brandon, we have 5 national awards. You have the Walter Payton Award, and that's for the offensive player of the year, right? A quarterback has won it the last 5 times, I believe. And since 2003, it's either been a quarterback every single time except twice. And that was in 2003. There was a running back from Colgate. I forget his name. And then most recently in 2015, everybody knows Cooper Kupp, great on the fantasy squad from Eastern Washington, the Red Turf.
That's my guy.
That's your guy. Okay. So you're an
SDSU
guy and a Cooper Kupp guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He won it in 2015. So, again, it's been much like the Heisman. It goes to the quarterback, damn near, every year.
It's a quarterback award. It's what you're saying.
Basically.
Okay.
Yep. So, other than that, you have 4 other awards. And you have the Buck Buchanan Award. That's the Defensive Player of the Year, Brandon. And then the Jerry Rice Award, Freshman Player of the Year. The Eddie Robinson is the Coach of the Year award. And then you also have the Doris Robinson award, and that goes for the Scholar Athlete of the Year. So you have your 5 awards. And again, the Walter Payton one, if you and I were playing FCS level, that's the one we would want to win, right? The high-powered offensive guy. Trey Lance won it, obviously, last year. And like I said, since 2003, a quarterback has won it every year except twice. Okay.
So it's basically the Heisman it's a quarterback award.
Basically, the quarterback award named after Walter Payton.
Does it go to the best or the quarterback on the best team like it normally does, or does it go to the best quarterback? Or
there's a pattern. I could say if probably to the best team, right?
Yeah.
But then again, and I don't want to brag being an NDSU guy.
Oh boy,
but
here we go.
Not even 15 minutes in, and I'm already on the brag train. But NDSU has won it if you don't know anything about FCS football, all you need to know is NDSU has won it 8 of the last 9 years. All right. So that's
the
all
title?
you need to know. What's that?
The title?
Yeah.
Oh boy, not this year, baby. All right. Question 2. It's not really a question.
Okay.
But it's more, I need you to compare the FCS conferences to FBS conferences.
Ooh.
Who is going to be scoring points out the wazoo like, the Big 12 does? Who's going to have 7 teams in the top 15 like the SEC does? Who's going to be playing 10-7 games like the Big 10 does?
Yep.
Which conference is dominated by one team like the ACC is with Clemson? Let's hear it. And what conference does nobody care about like nobody cares about Pac-12?
There we go. Okay. So I picked 4 or 5 FCS conferences to try and match them up with your FBS conferences. All right. So right off the bat, the Missouri Valley Football Conference, you have North Dakota State, South Dakota State, USD, Northern Iowa, those teams, University of North Dakota. That is like, Brandon, your SEC. You're going to have those, top 7 teams in the top 25, stuff like that. So they could have 4 or 5 playoff teams this season, just depending with the at-large bids and obviously cutting down on the playoff format to 16 teams instead of that 24. You could see more Missouri Valley teams, but Missouri Valley, SEC, that's one. All right, those 2 are locked in. Now, you being a West Virginia guy, obviously you like to see some points being scored, right? So
Yep.
The Big Sky, right? The Big Sky out in Montana. You have Weber State in there, Northern Colorado, a couple of those teams. That's your Big 12, right? That's they're scoring 40, 50 points a game. Okay. I also tab this one, the Big Sky, to the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 is you're sitting hungover or tuned up on a Saturday, right? And you want some action, right? You want to
Pac-12 after dark. Yeah. You got to
Exactly.
you got to start getting that money back. You're like, hey, let's take the over on this Cal Washington State game at 10 p.m. on ESPN2.
You start pulling for strings. You're just hoping for something to go right. And for some reason, you think 12 bush lights later and a 10 p.m. kickoff game is going to do that for you on a Saturday. So that is also the Big Sky because they being out there in the West, they're playing later. So Big 12, Pac-12 match up with the Big Sky. All right. So there's 2 conferences there in the FCS. Now the Big 10, a little more hard-nosed football. The teams that, when I think of the Big 10, Brandon, I don't know if this is just me or is it maybe everybody, not everybody, but maybe you. When I think of the Big 10, I think of like teams that are close together, proximity wise. And that's just kind of what I think of. Obviously defense as well. So I look at the Southland Conference. And when you look at the Southland Conference, you have what? 11 teams from three different states: Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana. To me, that's kind of the Big Ten of the FCS, if you will. So they play some decent defense, but they're all kind of packed in there together in those three states. And for some reason, I just always think of the Big Ten when I think of that.
I don't know why you think of that. The Big Ten spread out through like six states, but sure.
I know. Again, when I was thinking about this, that just kept on coming up in my brain. The Big Ten is stretched out multiple states, right? But Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan State, stuff like that. Anyways, the fourth one I have here, or the third FCS conference here I have, Brandon, that matches up with an FBS conference, the CAA. All right, the CAA is now the ACC of the FCS. James Madison. They've been pretty dominant in the CAA, Brandon, for the last couple of years. Reminds me of Clemson, obviously, in the ACC. And with the CAA being, on the eastern part of the United States, that's kind of where I get that comparison. The ACC,
I see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Dukes, the JMU Dukes, possibly, we might have to do this in a couple episodes later, the coolest logos out there in the FCS. The Dukes have a pretty solid logo. JMU there, so you'll have to definitely.
They do. I'll give them that. They played West Virginia. Yep, they played West Virginia a couple seasons ago to open the season. Took them like 17-10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen them play. I also saw them play James Madison in DC when I was in school. But yeah, from what I've researched, James Madison, one of the premier programs of the FCS, and clearly just been dominant over the CAA the last few years.
Yeah, there you go. Obviously, they won't have the big Ben DiNucci, who played for the Dallas Cowboys, came in for Dak this past NFL season. So they'll have a new guy at the helm under center. But back to your question, Brandon, those are some of the conferences that I matched up with some FBS ones, just to kind of give people a little better, explanation, a little more feel, if you will.
Okay. So my next question is, there's been expansion before, and we're seeing teams come up from, D2 to the FCS level like we did last week. Do you see any of these schools making the move up to big boy football?
Ooh.
Does North Dakota State do they make the jump? I mean, they hang with the big boys. They usually beat the big boy, or not really the big boys. They're beating Kansas and Kansas State and whatnot, and I wouldn't consider them the big boys. But
not Kansas.
Do you see them? No, God, no. But do you see any schools making the jump from FCS to the FBS anytime soon?
Being in Fargo, being in the Dakotas, this has definitely been a topic of conversation in any time you mention North Dakota State Bison football, right? I don't know. I think the Bison are kind of comfy where they are. 8 of 9, they've won now the title. They've been to Frisco. Some people call Frisco, Texas, South Fargo. So, I mean, as you're laughing there, but I mean, it's true. Do I see anybody making that jump soon? I don't think so. I think the next team that'll do it, I think it's going to be the Bison. I really do.
I mean, it has to be the Bison. They've
why wouldn't you, right?
10 years. How do you not as a program? I know that, that you have to have a certain attendance and keep that attendance for a certain amount of time and all that, and you have to have a certain amount of scholarships to be able to play in the FBS. But I think, North Dakota State is one of those programs that would be able to do it. I think they would fare much better in the FBS than, your Kansas is or your Rutgers or anything like that. I think I wouldn't say they would make a smooth transition to where they're all of a sudden competing for conference titles and stuff, but they're not going to be any schlub by any stretch of the imagination if they do go up there and start playing in the FBS here in the next, 5 to 10 years or whatever it may be.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think one of the reasons too that jump hasn't happened yet is, like you said, you have to have the capacity, right? At the stadium has to be a certain capacity. Well, what are you going to do at the Fargo Dome? If it only holds, 20,000, 22,000, you got to get a few more people in there to meet those, minimum requirements. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? You got to build a different stadium, right? Well, where are you going to put it? Make fun of North Dakota all you want. We do have a lot of flat land around, but it's not technically, in that Fargo area.
Yeah. I mean, I was also doing some research, and some of the stadiums I've seen, like, the Fargo Dome is sweet. The dome they got at UNI is sweet. Just all these different places. Like, they're only like, 15 to 20,000 capacity. But I mean, I'd love to go to, a game at SDSU versus NDSU at the Fargo Dome or the Dyke House or whatever, whatever it's called down there in Brookings. And, it's just, I love looking at, the stadiums, and they got some sweet ones out here in the old MVFC.
Exactly, that they do, and even the USD Dome is pretty sweet too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What's cool about the FCS, Brandon, is North Dakota, no pro sports, right? South Dakota,
Yeah.
no pro sports. What these people love, they love to watch, they love to drink, and they love to watch football, right? And the FCS is just that. So, Brandon, you being a newcomer a little bit, do you kind of think the ratings this spring will be a little higher than per se, let's say in the fall?
I mean, I think you almost have to think they're going to be higher with, people just wanting more football, and, Friday through Sunday from this weekend all the way up through the middle of May, it's going to be FCS football all the time. You got the Jacks and the Panthers on Friday night. You got the Bisons are playing on Sunday. So
you gotta love
it. Yeah, I just think that, even though it's going to be, most of them are going to be on, your ESPN pluses or your ESPN threes or whatever, people love, like, football is king in the country. And if people can bet on it, which is, something that we love doing as well, we love betting on sports, and, somebody sees football is on a Saturday in the middle of March, then they're going to be all over it. And I think that the ratings are going to do numbers more than, they would in the fall when you have the NFL and you have the FBS football going. It kind of drowns out the FCS. So I think it's going to get a good spotlight for the FCS and all these programs. And it's going to, even though there may be little to no fans in the stands, it's still going to bring a lot of exposure and money into these programs. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. NDSU is going to have obviously a limited number of fans, much like everybody else. And unfortunately, NDSU, no tailgating, Brandon, which is huge. So you'll have to come out to a game at the Fargo Dome when you can get the full experience, tailgating and all. That'll be good.
Pick up Andy on the way, and then we'll come to the Fargo Dome for the SDSU game.
There you go. Then you two Jacks fans can leave Fargo in the same car with a loss. You guys can talk about it.
Yeah. So leaning on that, kind of like, do you think that the FCS will fare better if they play their conference games in the spring? Like, I know that them playing these bye games and all this stuff, like, that's huge for their athletic department revenue and bringing in all the millions of dollars for going to play, the Alabamas and the Ohio States. But do you think that playing in the spring is something that we could see in the future, like they continue this, or do you think that they go back to playing fall football after this?
I hope they float around the idea, Brandon, of playing in the spring, because listen, people love football, right? And people love good football, right? Competitive football. And the FCS is very competitive, right?
Yeah.
Missouri Valley Football Conference, a very competitive conference. You look at the Big Sky, they score a lot of points, but it's also very competitive. There's a lot of competitive conference is in the FCS. People tried. You look at the XFL. There was another one, the AFL,
the AAFL,
or the AAFL. Yeah, right. Those didn't work, right? Because I don't know, it just wasn't good football to watch. Yeah, you might see a Johnny Manziel or a big name like that used to be in the NFL once, but it's just not that good of football. The FCS is solid football, right? It might not be your big dog football like Brandon says. It might be tier 2 FCS division, 1 AA, but it's still competitive football. And when you only have to compete, this spring now, obviously with a tournament, a playoffs bracket slimmed down to 16 teams, 8 less teams than previously, but you only have to compete with the NCAA tournament, the Masters, a little bit of the dog days of the NBA, NHL, and with the MLB season, kind of spring training and things like that. But the FCS title game, Brandon, is what, in May, middle of May, right?
Yeah.
That's going to probably be the biggest sporting event in that month, in the middle of May, right? So I don't know. I think they should definitely think about it. I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on it this spring. And I think maybe too, just because it's the first ever time of doing it, right? It's test one, take one, if you will, of doing it. But I think so. Why not split it up? I also think, Brandon, too, and this kind of popped in my brain here earlier today, but why wouldn't in Alabama, instead of playing against, their depth chart, number 2 guys, why wouldn't Alabama come play NDSU or Eastern Washington in the spring, right? For a tune-up game for their season, but it also helps the FCS programs get, play some higher quality teams. And Alabama's already playing football in the spring anyways, practices and stuff like that. So why wouldn't you play, a South Dakota State, or something like that? And then you could even say the same thing on the other side. If the FCS is getting ready in the fall for their spring season, if Alabama needs an opponent to run a scrimmage through, hey, NDSU, come down, try and beat us. We'll give you $250,000 or whatever. So I definitely think there's some valid points for the FCS season to be played in the spring. So I just hope this whole season, I hope it plays out, right? I hope no anything COVID wise, I hope doesn't derail it. So I'm just excited to see, if they really think about it after this spring moving forward.
Yeah, you brought up like the XFL and the AAFL, which when I think about those weren't established like football leagues. Like the FCS is established. They have fan bases. They have fans that are going to come to these games, and they're going to turn on these games to watch their teams play. Like nobody was turning on the AAFL to watch Steve Spurrier's team or whatever it was. Like, after a couple weeks, it's whatever. But these fans are invested in these teams, and they've been waiting over a year to watch their teams play. So I think that's going to be huge for the ratings for the FCS.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it should be a fun spring here, Brandon. Just trying to, you have any other questions? Like you said, you're new to the game. Is that kind of all the questions you had right off the bat there?
I know I think we're going to get to them in a little bit, but I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Jackson State might be my sleeper to win it all.
Okay.
Is prime time going to change FCS football? Because I know he's been bringing in like 4-star kids. He brought in his son. He brought in a couple other kids. I think they had like the 86th ranked recruiting class in the country, which I mean, for an FCS program is nuts. Like they were better than like 45 other programs. Like that's just insane. And Dion coming in his first year he hasn't even coached a year. He's been there for like 4 or 5 months, and he's already changing, the way these kids are recruited. He's bringing in 4 stars to this FCS program. Like, do you think that, more kids, they see that Prime's coaching at Jackson State? Do you think that more like it's going to bring more exposure to these programs? Do you think that kids are going to start looking at, the NDSUs and the SDSUs and, Villanovas or whatever as they're getting recruited? Do you think that he is helping change the FCS football outlook?
I think so. I mean, anytime you get a big name, right? Primetime's a huge name. You're going to get some exposure, right, from that level. So I do think so. And if you look at NDSU, I just looked at their depth chart here earlier in the week. They got guys from Florida. They got guys from Texas. They got guys from out east, out west. So it's already kind of starting to build, right? NDSU was really built on those Dakota players, right? Those farm kids that you can just roll down the street and find at your local school. But so it's kind of already started. These players are finding out, Brandon, you don't have to go Texas. You don't have to go to Arizona State to get the NFL exposure if that's your goal. Look, Easton Stick, Bison quarterback. Carson Wentz, Bison quarterback. Brock Jensen, former Bison quarterback. They all have spent some time in the NFL. Maybe Brock Jensen, not so much. But you're getting experience, right? And we even looked at the Super Bowl. Between the Bucs and the Chiefs, there was 23 FCS players or something on their rosters. That's insane. There was 4 5-stars and a bunch of 3 and 2 stars. So no matter where you go, if you're talented, coaches are going to find you. And anytime you can bring in prime time, that's just going to give the FCS even better, right? People are going to be like, whoa, maybe the FCS is legit. Primetime's going down there to coach Jackson State. We'll see how they end up. I know they've gotten with Jackson State playing in the spring. I know they got some Division I kids, some FBS kids out of the transfer portal to come there. So it should be fun. I love it. He brings a high energy to the league. He's an electric guy, and that's what I think the FCS needs. Kind of more personalities, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna be great for the FCS. You know, whether he pans out or not, that remains to be seen. You know, he hasn't even coached a game yet, but you know, I think that it's definitely going to be interesting when once the season starts this week, how Jackson State's going to fare with Prime as, you know, the coach. And I know it's going to be a lot about Dion and during the games and all that, but you know, they got a football game to play, so let's see how he coaches.
Yep, definitely. He hasn't even done his, first game press conference, and he's already getting a bunch of recognition. So it should be good. I just hope Dion, and we can move on after this, but I just hope Dion doesn't I hope he didn't take this job, Brandon, just so he could start coaching, right? He's like, oh, I got one head coaching job underneath my belt. I'm ready for the NFL, or I'm ready to take on Texas or USC or whatever. So I just hope that's not his plan. Long term, maybe, but I just hope he doesn't leave, boom, after 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's what the way of, you know, college football. Is he gonna just be a 1 or 2 year thing and then he's gonna bounce and head to, you know, bigger waters, or is he gonna stay and, you know, build something there at Jackson State? I think it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right, Brandon, let's continue on with the show here, the Kota FCS Pick'em Show. I'm Pace Meyer. We got B Russ right next to me on BRuss35 on Twitter. You can find him. And Brandon, we got a couple headlines here that I want to run through kind of before we continue on with the show. As many of you know, there is obviously not every team is playing this spring. There's 92 FCS teams that are scheduled to play this spring, 35 teams as of February 10th, 2021. So about 7 days ago, a week ago, have decided not to play. The 2021 spring playoff format will work like this. The selection show is going to be mid-April. You'll want to tune into that. That'll be great television. There'll be 4 playoff rounds with a championship game that May 14th through 16th weekend. It's usually that first week, second week in January. Obviously now with it being a spring season, it'll be May 14th through 16th down there in Frisco, Texas. A great place. If you haven't been, definitely check it out. Of course, if you're a Bison fan, 8 of 9 times, yeah, you've been there a few times, but that's neither here nor there. The playoffs are moving from a traditional 24 teams to 16 teams, Brandon. There'll be 11 auto qualifiers and 5 at-large bids, which will become very interesting come Selection Sunday. Our team's is the committee gonna value a team that went 3-0 in the spring and is carrying over in the fall and is carrying over to the spring? Will those wins kind of help a team when it comes Selection Sunday? Non-conference schedules will be limited. Most teams are just playing within their conferences. So you'll see NDSU playing SDSU, and you won't see like NDSU go out and play Villanova out of conference games like that. But in order, Brandon, for your team to be considered for an at-large bid, they are an at-large selection, they would need to play, or they need to play a minimum of 4 games. So that is a minimum requirement. If you want to get that at-large selection, you will have to play 4 games. So have you had a chance, Brandon, to look kind of at the playoff format at all?
I mean, it's, your basic 16 team playoff. I'm obviously all the conference winners are the AQs, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you got the 5. So is it all at home, like at somebody's home stadium until it gets to the championship game, or how does that work?
Yeah. So it'll be played at the only game, and that's kind of fun too. The only game that's non-neutral, or that's neutral, excuse me, will be the championship game.
Okay.
Yep. So again, does the playoffs run through the Fargo Dome this year? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, I said
we will see.
I said I'm all white, not the flag, like Brandon mentioned. I'm a bare canvas now. I'm a bare canvas.
Hey, the Jacks don't need to worry about playing 4 games. They're going to get the automatic qualifiers. So
oh, there we go. Oh, you gotta love it. Awesome. So that's kind of how the playoff format's breaking down. Again, we'll keep you updated every week if a team drops out. Hopefully not, or if teams, let's say, or conferences. Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So some other headlines here. We mentioned Deion Sanders, head coach at Jackson State. He's done a really solid job so far recruiting. But the other headline here, Brandon, I have Austin Peay. They have the youngest head coach in Division One. This gentleman's name is Scotty Walden. He's 30 years old. He was hired in November after their previous coach left to be their Austin Peay's 21st head coach in program history. In 2019, he was tabbed the 35 coach under 35 years of age. So he definitely kind of knows what he's doing, at least a little bit. At least that's what one media outlet tabbed him under, the top 35 coach under 35 years old. And Austin Peay, they're technically 0-3 already, Brandon, on the season because they played 3 games in the fall. They lost to number 11 Central Arkansas, who actually played NDSU. That was the Bison's lone game. And then Austin Peay played Pittsburgh, and then they played FBS number 20 Cincinnati in the fall. So they're 0-3 already in this weird 2020-2021 season. But yeah, 30 years old, Brandon. Is that too young to be a head coach or no?
I mean, if he gets the job done, then it doesn't matter. Like Sean McVay was 32, and he took the Rams to a Super Bowl. Granted, it makes me look at my life and think, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm almost 27, and then this guy's 30 and he's coaching, big time college football. Yeah, I mean, if he gets the job done, then who the hell cares what his age is? But if he starts not performing and they're not winning, then obviously people are going to think, well, he's way too young. We need to get somebody in here who's older and more experienced and knows what they're doing. So it's kind of I wouldn't say it's a lose-lose situation for him, but if he starts losing, then that's automatic. People are going to automatically go to that as an excuse.
Yep. They'll just start using that against him, his age, if he starts losing. So 30 years old. It'll be interesting to see how Austin Peay does. They lost a little bit from last year, but they'll hopefully continue to build their program up with Scotty Walden, 30 years of age. Brandon, we have 2 new teams to the FCS this season, Dixie State and Tarleton State. Tarleton State actually just played in week 0, they called it, against McNeese State. And Ed Ogeron, the old LSU football coach, his son, Cody Ogeron, I believe, is actually the quarterback at McNeese State. He passed for 170. He had a total of 5 touchdowns, including the game winner in double overtime, a 19-yard scamper to give McNeese State that 40-37 win. So 2 new teams there, and we've already played 1 game already. Brandon, were you able to catch that last week? McNeese State and Tarleton State.
I did not know. Not with Valentine's going on last week. Had a little more some other priorities going on.
Totally. Yeah.
I did catch your recap of the game though, so I did know that Cody Orgeron was the quarterback of McNeese State and making Pop proud down there at on the Bayou.
Exactly. So pretty kind of cool story. And that's cool too. Mm-hmm. We also have another cool story. Ed McCaffrey now, his son. Yep. His son is transferred out of Michigan. I can't remember his son's name. Transferred out of Michigan, is going to play with his dad at Northern Colorado, I believe now.
Yes, but yes, yeah. Yep. I did see that, although I don't think NCU is playing, right?
I don't believe so. Not this spring. Nope.
So, yeah, I mean, you got the son of Ed McCaffrey, brother of Christian McCaffrey. So, it's kind of he's got high expectations. He's got a lot to live up to, but, like you said, they got scoring a lot of points out there in Big Sky country. So, when he does get back to playing football, hopefully they can, put up numbers. I'd like to see a guy leave Michigan and then, make Jim Harbaugh look like an idiot for not playing him.
That would be something. Hopefully that happens. Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll have to wait another couple months for that fall season. But yeah, so some cool storylines there going into week 1 already. Week 0, there was a game, like we said, 2 teams have played already, and it included a newcomer in Tarleton State. Brandon, the top 25 is out, and I know we have our national title odds and contenders and our our conference picks that we can go over later. But let's just go over quickly the top 25, the preseason top 25 that came out, and we'll get this pulled over here. And I'm assuming all the FCS fans have probably already seen this, but I'll fly through this very, very quickly. We have North Dakota State, number 1, Weber State at number 2, Northern Iowa, another Missouri Valley team. I know, Brandon, we talked that Missouri Valley is that kind of that SEC of FCS football. They already have, 2 of the top 3 teams in this preseason poll. Then we have James Madison, number 4, South Dakota State, your guys, number 5. So 3 out of the top 5 preseason ranked teams, Missouri Valley Football Conference. Number 6, you have Kennesaw State out of the Big South. Villanova makes an appearance at 7. Nichols at 8. Illinois State, another Missouri Valley team, at number 9. Sam Houston State out of the Southland, number 10. Southeastern Louisiana, 11. Eastern Washington in that red turf. Man, those are fun games to watch on that red turf, number 12. We also have New Hampshire. They have Southern Illinois here at 13. New Hampshire at 14. Furman, 15. Jacksonville State, who NDSU played a few years ago in the title game, at 16. North Carolina A&T 17, Albany 18, Austin P, who we just kind of mentioned here, at number 19, Wofford 20, Monmouth 21, Delaware 22, shout out Joe Flacco, and number 23, Southeast Missouri State, number 24, the Idaho Vandals, and number 25, South Carolina State. So those are your preseason top 25 FCS rankings from Athlon Sports. Brandon, any discussion there you want to chat about the fact that NDSU is number 1 again, or no?
I mean, we get it. It's a long season, so you won 8 of the last 9. That doesn't mean anything going into this weird spring 2021 season that we're heading into. But just they got a target on their back. They know that. I think it's going to be a big time 3-horse race there in the Missouri Valley between them, the Panthers, and the Jackrabbits. So we'll just buckle up.
Buckle up, indeed. It should be fun. All right, Brandon, where do you kind of want to go next? I know you got some. I know you did a little research on a couple of these teams. So you want to go over some conference previews, maybe pick your conference winners, and then national title odds, or how do you want to go about this?
Yeah, let's do. I mean, most of my conference picks were like throwing a dart at a dartboard. I just, drawing out of a hat. I knew very little. I did research, but it's still all new to me. So I was just kind of like, screw it. Let's just throw them out there. Throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And if I go 11 for 11, then I'm just the new FCS king. But until then, I'll stay humble and, let's go over these conference picks, and then we'll get our national title picks in.
All right. I love it. Let's start with alphabetically. I think that's how it starts. I wasn't a big speller. I wasn't a big school guy. So the Big Sky I know comes after A. The Big Sky, Brandon, who you rolling with in the Big Sky?
I'm rolling with Weber State.
Okay.
They're going to put up points. So, number 2 team in the country, not a very, very chalky pick, but I'm rolling with Weber State out of the Big Sky. Okay,
there we go. This is the first we're going to disagree right off the bat. All right, I like it. I'm going to go with Eastern Washington in this spot. I do like Weber State. They do have a lot coming back, but I kind of lean Eastern Washington.
So would your pick change at all if either of the Montana schools were playing, or would you still stick with Washington's or Eastern Washington? That's
a great question. I think I would still stick with Eastern Washington. I think, Brandon, I really think Weber State is the best team in the Big Sky. No doubt about it, if the Montana State teams are back or not. I just think Eastern Washington, offensively, I like them a little more. Defensively, they got some strong corners and things like that. So I like Eastern Washington in this. So, no, I guess make a long answer longer. I wouldn't change my pick if either of the Montana schools were back.
Okay. I like it.
Yes, sir. All right. ABC, the CAA conference. Who you like in there? That's that JMU Villanova.
No, you went by the Big South.
Oh, Jesus.
You got Big Sky and the Big Sky and then the Big South.
All right, you got it. Who's the Big South? Because I can't follow directions.
Big South. We're rolling with Kennesaw State.
Oh, I love it. Give it to me.
We're rolling with Kennesaw State, baby.
Yep.
No idea who that is, where they are. Just rolling with them. Go Owls.
Oh, that's what's gonna be so fun about this this whole show. Kennesaw State, great pick, Brandon. He also on my list there, so I'm taking them. Kennesaw State. They are a public university out of the state of Georgia there, and so yeah, I like Kennesaw State. I haven't done a lot of research on them. I just know that they're the best team in the Big South, in my opinion.
All right, I'm glad we can agree on that.
Hey, we're 1 for 1 now.
1 for 2.
Yeah, that one. Yep. Again, math,
right.
Whatever.
You're struggling right now, man. All right, onto the CAA. Who are you taking in the CAA?
I am rolling with the Dukes, baby. JMU. They got a new quarterback under center, so it should be fun to watch him throughout the spring season and get to know him a little bit. But I'm rolling with the Dukes. They usually have a lot of NFL caliber players that go to the next level, and again, they'll bring in some more this spring. And I think JMU is the best team in the CAA. Villanova, maybe. I don't know. I'm rolling with the Dukes, though, here, Brandon. I like JMU.
You know what? We're disagreeing.
Oh!
I think that, I know that JMU has been running the show there in the CAA for a few years, but this is the Wildcats' year to take home the CAA. Villanova, not only a basketball school, they're a football school, too. 2-sport school.
Who would have known?
The Wildcats.
All right, I like it. We disagree again. Villanova, another strong team. They'll give JMU a tough time towards the end of the season there. So I like it. All right, that's the CAA. Now you got me all over the place. Ohio Valley, is that where we're at?
Nope. No. Come on, dude. All right, so the next one would be the Missouri Valley, but I think we should save that one for last. All right, so next we're going to the NEC.
The NEC, I like Sacred Heart. Got a little bit of offensive firepower coming back. Defensively, yeah, they're all right. They need to get a little better on that side of the ball. But like their coach, great coaching staff. I like Sacred Heart in the NEC.
We're going to disagree again. I think we're going to disagree a lot. NEC, I'm going Duquesne. Again, okay. I know very little about this conference. I saw Duquesne. I know some people that went to Duquesne. So it's in Pittsburgh, hour north of Morgantown. So go Duquesne.
All right. You better just keep running the show because I can't spell.
I got it. Okay. So on to the next one, we're going to the Ohio Valley. Who you got in the Ohio Valley Conference?
I'm gonna roll with our boy, the young gun, the young coach, Scotty. What was his last name again? Scotty Walden, was it, or something like that?
Yeah. Yep.
Scotty Walden, 30 years old. I'm gonna roll with Austin Peay in the Ohio Valley there, Brandon.
All right, there's another one we're gonna disagree on. I'm going with the Gamecocks of Jacksonville State.
That's a good pick, though.
Hey, you know what? Gamecocks, funny name. So I'm rolling with Jacksonville State.
All right, you're on a roll here. So I think.
All right, next one we're rolling. We're up to the Patriot.
All right.
I'm rolling with Holy Cross.
All right, hey, League. We're back on the same page.
We're back.
Again,
okay.
I don't know a lot about Holy Cross, but I do know that they are the preseason favorite in the Patriot League.
That's why I picked them. All right. Moving on to the Pioneer League. I took the San Diego Toreros to win it. I got a buddy who's interning at USD right now. So, nice. Go Toreros.
All right. We are on the same page again. I like San Diego. They can do some good stuff. They like to score a few points too. So that should be a fun team to watch as well. And San Diego, let's roll. We're 2 for 2 on the last 2.
All right, moving on. We're going to the SoCon. I got the Terriers of Wofford.
Oh, all right. I got Furman here. They were the SoCon preseason media poll favorite. They actually weren't the coach's favorite, but they were the preseason media poll. That's us media members. We know a little bit, but they got a stout defense. I think they return a couple of their linebackers, a couple defensive ends, and they also have a sophomore quarterback. I'm excited to watch this kid. This kid's name is Hamp Sisson. Very interesting name. He's took over the number 1 job in 2019. So should be interesting to see what he can do in his sophomore season there. Obviously, Wofford, I believe they're the 3-time defending champs of the SoCon. So they're no joke, but I like Furman in this spot here, Brandon.
All right. Well, Wofford runs the show, and they're going to continue to run the show down there in the SoCon. All right. Next, we're heading to Southland. Who do you like?
I like Sam Houston State. They got some key transfer losses that might hurt them trying to get back to the playoff for the first time in since 2017. Their defense will be all right. They led last year in rushing defense, 69.9 yards per game, Brandon. That's pretty damn good. They also had about 11 tackles per loss, so that'll be good too. And they got a tough front on that defensive end with Trace Mascaro and Javion Lennon and Joseph Wallace. So they got a quarterback name of Eric Schmidt and a running back Donovan Williams, excuse me. But they have a young offensive line here, Brandon. But I think bang for your buck, I'm rolling with Sam Houston State in the Southland Conference.
We're going to disagree again. I'm rolling with Nichols.
Oh, they're good. They're solid. They're good.
Nichols. I know nothing. I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard here.
Nichols, book it. The end. That's it.
that's all you need to know. Nichols, 2-time defending Southland champs.
Hey, that's really all you need to know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The conference runs through Nichols. All right. Then we're heading to the SWAC.
This is the last one now, right? Oh no, Missouri Valley.
Before the Missouri Valley, yep. Yeah, for the big one.
The SWAC, sorry. Yes, I have a team named Southern. The Jaguars, the Southern, Brandon, is a 2-part division. You have East and West, I believe. So the Jaguars, the Southern Jaguars come out of the West side, and they've lost 2 straight SWAC championships. This is the year, Brandon, Southern gets it done.
We're disagreeing again. This is prime time's conference now.
Okay.
The show runs through The show goes through Jackson State, Jackson, Mississippi. The kings of the SWAC. Prime time is going to get them going. This is Jackson State's conference.
All right, you love it.
And all right, last but not least, the big one, Missouri Valley Conference. I think we know where both of us are going, but let's hear it. Let's hear it.
All right, I am going with a team out of Brook. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I went to NDSU. I will continue to, again, I don't want to be a homer. Again, this is a show, Brandon. We're betting lines, right? This first episode is just kind of about the season preview and what's going to happen and things like that. So I might bet against NDSU this season. This isn't the best team NDSU has had in the last decade, by far. This is not the best team. They have a quarterback in Zeb Nolan. Some of you big boy football fans might have remembered him. He played at Iowa State. He actually had a couple solid games against Oklahoma. But other than that, this team, it's a younger team, Brandon. And we do have some receivers coming back. One's going to miss Youngstown State game this weekend due to an Achilles tear that happened in the spring. Let's see, 2020 spring against Central Arkansas. So their number 1-2 receiver, he'll hopefully come back later this spring, in the fall, this spring. But I like NDSU. Strong defense. Their linebacking core with Jackson Hankey out of North Dakota, Park River, North Dakota. Shout out the Aggies. That's where I went to 1st through 5th grade. But you didn't need to know that. And this linebacking core is strong, a little undersized, but it's definitely going to be the leader. Those guys are going to be the leaders on the defensive side of the ball. So I like what Matt Entz is doing. He's a good coach, a very defensive-minded coach. And I'm going to roll with NDSU. And Zeb Nolan is North Dakota State quarterback. If Nolan goes to the NFL or at least gets a shot, you never know. We can debate that. But I like NDSU here, Brandon. And I know where you're headed. I just know.
Listen, I've always been a big-time supporter of the program. Guess what? This is the year it ends. The Missouri Valley runs through Brookings, South Dakota. The Jackrabbits are going to get it done. I might even say they might go 8-0. They
Oh,
might go undefeated. They might go on the road and beat the Bisons and the Panthers. Pierre Strong Jr., Walter Payton Player of the Year, Jabari Gibbs, big time season. He's coming off an injury. He earned that top spot again. We're rolling with it. The Jackrabbits are taking the Missouri Valley Conference. Let's go.
let's go. Let's go. You keep claiming you don't know shit about the FCS, but you sure as damn well know some South Dakota football, state football. I love it.
I mean, when you're a fan of this program, then you got to know everything.
Hey,
I'm an honorary Jackrabbit.
that's true. Can I make one prediction that NDSU will not go undefeated this year? I just want to say that.
That's very, very bold of you, Pace.
I'm not
It's
saying
not the best team they've had. This isn't the best team they've had in 10 years.
no.
I don't think they'll go undefeated.
I'm just saying
This
a shortened
guy.
season, only 8 games, get to the playoffs, whatever. They will not go undefeated. I'm also not saying that loss could come to South Dakota State because I don't think it will. I think there's another team in the Missouri Valley that could sneak up on North Dakota State. But yeah, I like North Dakota State in the Missouri Valley. You like South Dakota State, and I cannot wait for that game because we're gonna have to do some sort of video or something, some type of content for that.
Live stream.
Live stream. There you go. I love it.
So, okay, let me ask you this question. Would you rather lose to the Jackrabbits or the Fighting Hawks?
Oh, damn, that's a good question. I think
Fighting
Jackrabbits.
Hawks UND for you'd rather lose to the Jackrabbits?
100%. I would.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's something about like the hatred's strong, man. Like, and I know the NDSU.
I get it.
Yeah, the NDSU UND rivalry, like it was weird. It was a big thing, back in the 90s, the early 2000s, 80s, when they were kind of on that same level. But then it kind of cooled off after NDSU jumped up in football and then obviously went to the Summit League. And then you have obviously North Dakota just joined the Summit League for basketball, a couple seasons ago. So that rivalry, I mean, it's still there, but it's not as strong as it used to be. So without a doubt, on the football field, I don't want to lose the Jackrabbits 10 times out of 10.
I mean, I kind of see, like, I could compare it to West Virginia and Marshall, who's an in-state rival of West Virginia, although we haven't played them in, I think, since my freshman year at West Virginia. We haven't played them just because we're like 11-0, and West Virginia, no need to go to, Huntington to play in front of 15,000 people or whatever it is, just to smoke Marshall. The rivalry's definitely cooled off in the last 10 years. So yeah, I definitely see but I would hate to lose to Marshall if West Virginia played them again. I would absolutely hate that. Something about in-state rivalries is just different than, playing a team, a state or two over. It's just completely different because you might work with, some Fighting Hawks or, some Thundering Herd or whatever, and it's just not fun.
So how far is Morgantown, and is Marshall in Marshall, or you got to help me out with some geography?
Huntington.
Okay.
So it's in Huntington, West Virginia. It's about 3.5 hour drive, depending on what direction you go. West Virginia's only played there one time, and I think they've played 13 times, if I'm not mistaken. West Virginia's won all the games. The one time they did play there, though, is kind of a down year for West Virginia, and Marshall took them to overtime. West Virginia had to score on like a last-second touchdown. But yeah, like a 3.5 hour drive. I did visit Marshall just to get out of school for a day, but I had no intention of going to Marshall.
Oh boy, that's awesome. See, now that I bring up kind of mileage and stuff, North Dakota State and UND are only 67 miles apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. I just think still losing to the Jackrabbits just it sucks, right? It's no fun to lose to a top tier team in the Missouri Valley Football Conference that wear the blue and what do you call that? Yellow? What do you call that? Gold, blue and yellow? I think that's what
as an honorary Jackrabbit, I'm not going to speak on it. I'm sure Andy will let us know. I think it's blue and yellow though.
All right. So there we go. Cool. You're going SDSU, no surprise. I'm going NDSU, no surprise. Now, Brandon, for the big time, the national title, the contenders, the pretenders. Before we kind of go over our picks, again, it might not be surprising what our picks are, but we'll see. Here are the opening 2021 Spring FCS Championship odds. All right, you ready, Brandon? At number one, North Dakota State plus 150. Coming in at number 2, Weber State plus 400. You have South Dakota State at plus 500. You have UNI, the Panthers, at plus 600. JMU, the Dukes, plus 800. Kennesaw State, plus 800. Villanova, the Wildcats, plus 1,200. Eastern Washington, plus 1,400. Sam Houston State, plus 1,600. Illinois State, plus 2,000. Nicholls State, plus 2,000. And then you have 3 teams at plus 2,500 that include Furman, North Carolina A&T, and Southern Illinois. Those are your 2021 Spring National Championship odds for the FCS title game, Brandon. You like anything there? See, SDSU third on the list at plus 500. That's not bad.
No, those are pretty, plus 150 to win the national title is
insane.
Almost insane. You don't see a lot of teams that are starting out, at almost even money to win the national title. Usually it's plus 300, plus 250, somewhere in there. But to be plus 150, and then the next team up is plus 400. That kind of shows you the gap between the Bisons and everybody else in the FCS.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know. I mean, I'll put some money on NDSU, obviously being a fan, but I really don't think that's where the value lies in these odds here, Brandon. You mentioned the Wildcats earlier in the show at plus 1,200. Like, I don't hate that. All you got to do is obviously beat JMU to possibly get one of those 4 spots. But Villanova at plus 200, I don't hate that either. Eastern Washington, big fan of, without those Montana schools in the Big Sky. That's not too bad to look at either. I mean, North Dakota State at plus 150, just not a lot of value there, I don't think.
No, there definitely isn't. What did you say JMU was at?
JMU is plus 800. That's not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good value for a team that just lost the national title game, last season. I mean, yeah, I think if I had to put my money to be smart, if my money, I'd have to put it on, I think, James Madison.
Yeah, plus 800, not bad. Obviously, they lost last year to North Dakota State, 28-20, another solid game. I think they've made it to the title game, Brandon, now 3 out of the last 4 years, I believe. And then they beat Youngstown State in 2017 for the national title. That's obviously the year NDSU didn't make it. They ended up going to beat Youngstown State for that title there. So yeah, I don't hate that either. Plus 800, I think that was.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Cool. All right. So there's our. Oh, who are you going with? Who's winning it all? Not necessarily who you're putting money on, but who's winning it this season? This 2021 spring football FCS season. Who's taking home the title?
Listen, I jumped on honorary. I'm not going with my boys in Brookings. The South Dakota State Jackrabbits get it done. They go to Frisco and they hoist that national championship trophy. Who they play, I don't know. I don't know how the format exactly works. But would I love to see at NDSU, SDSU, national championship game? That would be electric. But yeah, I'm rolling with the Jackrabbits. Yeah, let's go. Ears up.
Let's get it. Brandon, one thing that I've always haven't been a big fan of in the FCS is 2 teams from the same conference could go ahead and play in the national title game. Are you a fan of that or no?
I mean, we've seen it before in the FBS. It's always been, I think both times it's happened, it's been the SEC, which is, I mean, the SEC is what it is. The SEC has been the best conference in football for a while. And I think Alabama's won it both times. So it's kind of boring to me seeing these same conferences, teams from the same conference play in these national title games. I would like to see some variance, some matchups that we don't normally see. That's what the playoffs are all about, or having these games that you don't normally get to see in the regular season. I don't want to necessarily see James Madison and Villanova playing for the national championship or whatever, but if it comes down to it and they end up making their way through it, then they do deserve it. But I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that NDSU SDSU championship game. Like you said, I think that would be electric. I think that'd be sweet.
We'd have to make our way down. I don't know if they're allowing fans or whatever. We might have to make our way down to Frisco for the game.
Oh boy, that would be something. We could pick up a couple buddies in the eastern part of South Dakota and head right down to Frisco.
That's right, little road trip.
Yeah, I think that'd be real fun. So yeah, Brandon's obviously going to SDSU. I'm rolling the Bison. I think Zeb Nolan can take this team there. Like I said, I don't think they'll go undefeated, but you don't have to go undefeated to get the championship game. As long as you go undefeated in the playoffs, you'll just be fine. Christian Watson is a solid wide receiver for Zeb Nolan. And then you have a strong defense too with Michael Tutsi coming back at strong safety. You also have some offensive line power in Cordell Volson as well. The Bison obviously going to lose Trey Lance to the NFL draft. And then they're probably going to lose an offensive lineman in Dylan Radins, probably in the first, 40 to 50 picks. I did see a mock draft of Radins going in early in that second round. So obviously 2 NFL caliber players won't be on the 2021 NDSU spring team that were on the fall team in 2020. So there we go. There we have it. Our 2 title contenders, Brandon, SDSU Pace, myself is going with the Bison. Brandon, anything else you kind of want to touch on, you being new to the FCS game, before we wrap up show 1 here?
I don't think so. As questions come about, I'm sure I'll have plenty of questions throughout the season. But as of right now, I'm just excited to, get the season going on Friday. Big time matchup. Jackrabbits heading to Northern Iowa to play the Panthers. So, we're going to get things rolling real quick here on Friday and this upcoming weekend.
All right. We'd love to see it. NDSU is headed to will host Youngstown State. So that'll be a fun game. Obviously, Bo Pelini was at Youngstown State at one time, but he will not be there this year. Obviously, shout out Jim Tressel. And Jim Tressel.
Jim Tressel, president of Youngstown State.
Yeah, that's your guy too.
Right now. He was the coach of Ohio State growing up, so I'm pulling for the Penguins on Sunday.
Oh, anything B-Russ to go against the Bison. That's what you're gonna do. You mean?
That's right. I'll go against the Bisons all day.
There we go. There you have it. Before we kind of wrap up, just want to say R.I.P. Vincent Jackson. I believe he was a 3-time Pro Bowl receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He went to the University of Northern Colorado, I believe, and in the FCS. So just want to say RIP to him. Brandon, this won't be our last show of the week, though. People are going to still hear from us, whether or not they like it or not.
That's right. You know what? Well, whether it's Friday night or Saturday morning, we're going to have a preview show every week. We're going to preview the big games. We're going to get picks in. We're going to talk about any news or anything, go over last week's game, the previous week's game. So yeah, you guys are going to be hearing a lot from us between our podcast, Mount Lockmore, and our new Kota FCS Pick'em show. So get used to hearing our terrible voices.
There you go. You can hear our terrible voices on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can see what my woman tells me is an okay face on YouTube for this show. And you can also follow this show's Twitter page, Kota_FCS Pick'em. Tweet us your picks, who you're rolling with and stuff. And it's going to be a fun time. So just want to say thanks again for everybody joining us on episode 1 of the Kota FCS Pick'em show.
Go Jacks, baby.
Go Bison. We'll see you next time.